going live here. Just letting everybody come on the call and getting ready. We're going to be going at the top of the hour with Jerry Foster, who is actually one of the most brilliant people I know. For those of you who know what I teach on influence, you'll know why I love working with Jerry, because the challenge that so many people have who want to do something bigger is around really getting clear on what it is you teach for the world and who you teach it to, which is a big part of branding. So I'm going to invite anyone who's already coming on the call. If you want, feel free to open up the chat board and type your name on the chat board so we can see where you are in the world. We're going to be starting with the official presentation in another minute. I'll introduce Jerry in a minute. But feel free to introduce yourself on the chat board, and we'll get things rolling here in a few seconds. So I see we're already at the top of the hour, so let's actually just dive right in, and we'll get going with Jerry. I really want you to get how brilliant and amazing Jerry is, so I'm actually going to read some of his bio to you. But first, what I really want you to understand is a big part of what I teach in influence is that influential people really solve a big problem in the world, but they also do it in a very specific way. People need to understand what problem you solve for them and how you get in their world. And that's why my personal belief is branding is so important to really become a thought leader or to emerge as a thought leader in the world. And so we've targeted this session specifically for people who are speakers, trainers, writers, podcasters, who are in a transformational conversation, are really out there to do something good in the world, because I really want you to get the importance of branding and how you present yourself to the world. So Jerry Foster is a brand strategist. He's regarded by many as one of the top small business branding experts in North America. He's the founder of the Big Brand Formula, which shows you how to create a big brand and a strong message that sells, even if your budget is small. A dynamic speaker and trainer. Since starting his branding, training, and development company full-time in 1985, Jerry's helped over 100,000 small businesses from over 600 different industries with their branding. His mission is for small business owners to offer exceptional brands that make an exceptional difference so you can live an exceptional life. He's a former brand strategist with Procter & Gamble, who, for those of you who don't know it, wrote the book on branding. And I know, really, this man is just brilliant. Everyone I know who's worked with him has had huge breakthroughs around branding. He speaks on stages all over the world and is a member of prestigious organizations like the CEO Space Faculty, which includes people like Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen. He's part of George Fraser's highly acclaimed Power Networking Faculty, which are the top 40 African-American trainers and speakers in America. That includes people like Les Brown, Lisa Nichols. He's also part of Colin Sprake's Make Your Mark team right here in Canada and Vancouver, which is the largest training and development company in Canada for small business. And in 2008, Jerry was honored as the father of business by the city of Los Angeles for his tireless and faithful work with small businesses. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. It's such a treat to have you here.
Well, thanks so much, Teresa. As I like to say, I am hyena happy and peacock proud to be here. And I think the world of you as well. So thank you for inviting me. This is great.
Oh, it's really great to have you here. So we like to keep these calls a bit informal. So what I've asked Jerry to do is he's going to give you a presentation, a slide presentation for about the first half of the call. And I'm inviting you, we've already had people posting questions on the Facebook group, but I'm inviting you to also post questions on the chat board if you want, or you can just post a sentence or two about you and what you do and what your business is. I know we also have people listening to us on the phone line, so if you're not accessible to the chat board, but you can get on Facebook, you can always post your questions on Facebook. We'll monitor the Facebook group there as well. And so what I'd really encourage you to do is put your questions in. Jerry's going to give some real life examples, and he's really going to gear this to what you write on the chat board. So I highly encourage you to do that. So Jerry, if you want to share your screen and get your slides going, I'll, without further ado, turn it over to you.
All right. Okay. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad to have you on the call. And Teresa, you can see my slides okay, I assume?
Yeah, they look great. Thanks, Jerry.
Very good. So real quickly, I had several objectives as I was preparing for this talk this morning. One is that I want to give each of you some very useful, practical ideas, approaches, and methods that you can use right away to powerfully brand yourselves. So this presentation is really geared to those of you who have skills and services to offer as opposed to a product. Number two, I want to stimulate some new ways of thinking on your part in terms of whether or not you are looking to get more clients, if you're looking for more speaking gigs, if you're looking for more registrations and enrollments of students for your programs and so on and so forth, give you some new ways to think about how to go about accomplishing that from a branding perspective. And number three, I'm going to recommend some strategic big branding items that many of you can work on between now and, of course, the summit that's coming up in February down in San Diego. So we've got a lot to cover here in a short time to get there, so I'm going to jump right into it. So what you might want to do is take out a pencil and some paper and take some notes, because I've got a lot to share with you. So take a look at this slide here. These are amazing personal brands that many of you may even recognize, because these are brands that have achieved celebrity status. You've got everyone from Debbie Fields in the upper left-hand corner to Rachel Ray, who's the celebrity chef, to Madonna, Dr. Roz, Oprah, Dr. Phil, right? All of these great brands, Tony Robbins, of course, upper right-hand corner, Susie Orman, all of these brands achieved celebrity status because they were able to build their brands around their unique gifts to the world. They didn't come out of their mother's womb destined for greatness per se. They understood that they had something that was remarkable, something that the world would be hungry for, and they were able to translate that into strong brands. Some of these brands, as you'll note, have products to offer. George Foreman with his grill, Ben & Jerry's, you see them down on the left-hand side with their ice cream. There's a picture of Michael Dell, who of course has Dell Computers. It doesn't matter, because they understood that there was power to be gained through the use of their names and their gift to the world. So you could say that these personal brands are really no different than the brands you see here. I love showing this particular slide to small business owners, because I'm not quite sure if some of you realize it, but all of these brands, which are super brands, well-known brands to millions and millions of people around the world, all started out with one person. Maybe two, maybe three, but someone no different than yourself, who had a gift, who had a dream, who had an idea, something to give to the world. And they made sure that they were able to align what the purpose of their work was, to go out and contribute something and add value to people. And of course, they have achieved resounding success in the process. So whether or not you have a product to brand, or if you have a skill, a talent, and ability, and you want to brand yourself, like the personal slide, and like I mentioned earlier, this presentation is geared to those of you who are looking to create a personal brand. Do know that in the world that we live in today, people know us by our brands. Branding is no longer an option, it's a necessity. If you go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning, chances are you pop into the shower and you use your favorite brand of soap. You get out of the shower, use your favorite brand of toothpaste, your favorite deodorant. You hop into your branded automobile, you go to your branded supermarket or store, the banks that you bank at, the schools that you put your children in, where you vacation. At a subconscious level, all of us are driven by a desire to purchase a brand. We lace up our sneakers, and of course they're Nike sneakers. We go to the sandwich shop, and quite often it's Subway, or we take the time to look at our iPads or our iPhones. Everything is driven by a preference for a brand across numerous products and services. So why is this so important? Why has branding become what many people consider to be the hottest topic facing all businesses, regardless of your size today, regardless of where you're located, regardless of what you offer? Why is this whole thing called branding such a key item of importance to any owner? Well, what I have found, particularly for those of us who are speakers, trainers, authors, thought leaders, as I would like to call you, for those of us who are in that category, I found that there are 4 distinct problems that we face. Now, I'm not suggesting that these 4 problems are not also being problems that are facing those who have products, but what I'm really saying here is that these 4 problems seem to be more of a challenge to those of us as thought leaders and perhaps even others who offer services. And so therefore the branding has a lot to do with being able to overcome these problems. Well, problem number 1 is what? Look what it says. Unless you brand yourself, someone else will. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just introduce yourself and you tell somebody what you do and they immediately make some kind of assumption about what it is that you have to offer? Someone might say, for example, I'm a real estate agent. Okay, I put you into the real estate pile. I'm a financial planner. Oh, okay, I put you into the financial planning bin. I'm a life coach. I'm a motivational speaker. I write books. I do training in the areas of growth and development. Okay, I will put you into that lane. So what we're finding is that because there are so many choices out there across so many categories, as I mentioned earlier, that this bombardment of numerous choices, along with zillions of websites, it seems, has led to this great proliferation of services in particular that are now cascading upon us as consumers around the globe, that the moment someone says who they are and what they do, people make those assumptions. They stereotype, they pigeonhole us, they put us into a box. And so the idea of branding yourself, look at the second bullet point, is to seize control over how others perceive you so that they see you the way you want them to see you, so that you can then turn that perception into an opportunity for yourself. Because you never want someone to go ahead and do that to you and come up with their own conclusions about who you are and what you offer and what your value is and so on. The second problem is that to most people, we're just a giant blur. I love this particular slide because all of us have gone into some kind of retail store and we've gone to the shelf and we look at all these products and we're like, holy cow, they all look alike. They're all the same. How can you choose one over the other? Now think about that as a speaker, as an author, as a trainer. Here you are, and you are often competing in market space that is so saturated, that is so overcrowded, that you have to do everything you can, write this down, to stand out, get noticed, and be remembered for offering something unique so that you can then be rewarded for your individuality. I said that too fast. Let me get that to you again. Your goal has to be to stand out, get noticed, and be remembered for offering something unique so that you can then be rewarded for your individuality. And therein lies the challenge. Because here you are, and you're skilled and you're bright and you're smart and you've got subject matter expertise, you've got a track record, you have years of experience, and you're like trying to say to someone, notice me, here I am, pay attention to me, please don't leave my web page, my home page so fast, check out what I have to offer. However, that person has the right to do what? Switch the channel on you if they cannot discern a difference between you and whoever or whatever they are comparing you against. Write this down. Unless I'm distinct, I risk being extinct. Unless I'm standing out, I'm invisible. And so therefore, I found, especially for thought leaders in these overcrowded, media-saturated spaces and markets that we're in, that it requires us to make sure that our buyers see us as offering something different and better. Write this down. I must convey how I am different and why I am better. Isn't that the truth? I mean, think about that. Now, I don't know how it is for you because I've been doing this for over 30 years, but what I have found that whenever I'm talking to a potential client, student, if I'm looking for a speaking gig, a training assignment, whatever it is, at the end of the day, there are two primary questions that people have. How are you different and why are you better? How are you different and why are you better? So the brand must convey what that is to solve this problem. Are you with me? And the third problem are these types of consumers who basically are saying to you or thinking quite often, well, I already know someone like you. I kind of know somebody who does what it is that you do. Oh, by the way, my company, we have our trainers, we have our speakers. I'm a meeting planner. I'm an organizer of events, and I have my laundry list. Oh, I work with a speakers bureau, and I've been told who I should be considering on whatever subject it may be. In other words, I've got my vendors, I've got my suppliers, I've got my professional service providers, whoever or whatever, and my mind is made up and you can't change it. Write this word down. They are indifferent to you. And so your job and what branding can do for you is to not only get that person to have a separation from whoever or whatever, but you want them to have a divorce, right? So that they can see how you are different and why you are better, and help overcome the previous two problems as well. And then the fourth problem is this, and that is everybody's busy. In our densely crowded, everybody's busy, short attention span world, it's getting more difficult to be noticed, remembered, and desired, which is a goal for any brand. Remember me. Desire me. And so the objective here, write this down, is to generate more love for your brand by making it unforgettable and relished in the hearts and minds of your target audience, by letting them know that there's nobody else like you. Because today, it's more important than ever before. Wasn't like that 20 years ago. Oh, think about that. The internet changed everything. Back in the day, if you just did good work, that was sufficient, am I right? Your competition, for the most part, may have just been someone in your geographic area or someone on a short list in terms of speakers and trainers and whatnot. But because of the internet, nowadays, people have choices. And not only do they have choices, they are very savvy when it comes to who it is that they wish to work with. And so it's becoming more and more of a struggle just getting people to stop and listen, right? I'm like, hey, won't you even take a look at what I have? Is it so hard for you to respond to a text message or return my phone call or reply to my email? Can you just stop and listen to what it is that I have to offer you? So what's the solution? The solution is to create an incredible brand, a big brand that can make big things happen, even if your budget is small. And so this presentation, this conversation this morning with Teresa, and what I will be doing, of course, at the summit in San Diego in February, is I'll be giving you a lot of details on exactly how to do this. But this morning, I'm going to give you a lot of stuff to think about, like I said earlier, because I want everybody who is listening to this program to know that your tomorrow can be better than your yesterday, that what's coming can be better than what's been, because the worst is behind you, the best is before you, if you want to take the step of creating a big brand. So people take notice of your gift. So before I kind of get into the heart of my presentation, and all that was for free, by the way, I threw that in there for you, Teresa. I want to first define what branding is, because it's one of those words that is thrown around a lot. And I have found that it is, on the one hand, the hottest, most topical business term today, because we live in a brand conscious world. Like I was saying earlier, you go on the internet, it's about your brand. You look in the newspaper, it's about your brand. You watch TV and they're talking about brands. You've even got celebrities who talk about their brand. Brand. And so it's created all this confusion. Now remember, everybody, I'm a brand strategist. I'm not a brand designer. Just like house cleaners who clean homes will say, I don't do windows. Well, I don't do logos. Okay? I'm a strategist. And I come out of P&G, as Teresa mentioned in my introduction. And so I'm a purebred here when it comes to this whole thing called what is branding. So let me just say this. A brand is not simply a logo, a name, a book, a website, or anything that people can see. I wish it were that easy. And when I speak on different stages and I do different gigs and I'm doing all my programs and all the things that I do, just like all of you, I have so many people who come up to me, particularly thought leaders, speakers and trainers and authors, who give me their business card and say, Jerry, I've got a brand. Look at my card. I got a nifty logo. Notice the great design. I've got a cool name. I wrote a book. Want to see my website? I've got a brand. I go, no, that's not a brand. That's called brand image. That's simply one spoke in the wheel. Is it important? Of course it is, because anything that you can do to stand out and get noticed is a good thing, right? However, it lacks what's called brand power, because great brands are not built by design. They're built by strategies, because the truth is that design alone does not capture what's called your brand power, which I define as the massive power of a brand to successfully compete in a market, drive desired financial results, so that you can in turn become well known in your space. Heck, you may not achieve celebrity status like Oprah and Tony Robbins and the rest of them, but you know what you can achieve through your brand, and that's called rock star status. Come with me, somebody. If some of you want to achieve rock star status in your industry, in your space, in your field of expertise, you can if you brand yourself the right way. So what is a brand? Write this down. A brand is a promise. It's a promise. It's the promise of an experience to your customer. Now, before the word experience, you have to put an adjective before that to describe that experience? Is it going to be an undeniable experience, an amazing experience, a fabulous experience? Any kind of positive, incredible experience is what you want to have. Just make sure that it's not a DMV experience. And so once you get real clear on what kind of experience you're willing to promise people, your next job is to find out what people want that you can help them get only through your big brand. Notice the words in gold. I must give people what they want that I can help them get, but only through me. Because if they don't feel that you offer them something that they can get only through you, if they feel you can get it somewhere else, then you immediately become a commodity. And once you tell them what it is that they can get only through you, they can decide if that's something they want. But I'll tell you this much, if you don't give people the impression that you are a one-of-a-kind brand, that you are offering something that nobody else is offering, then they will immediately put you into that commodity slot, right? Like we were talking about earlier, because in their mind, now you're just a jar of mayo. You're just a paper towel. You're just a bottle of water. But how about instead of just being a paper towel, you're like Bounty. Instead of being looked upon as just a bottle of water, why not be Evian? Instead of just being looked upon as a banana, why not be Chiquita Banana? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me settle down here. But my point here is that to achieve that status, there's several things that you have to follow. So real quickly, I'm going to give you 4 tips. I'm going to give you 4 tips that will help you not only achieve what it is that I just said, but more importantly, my goal here is that I want each of you to see your brand as being inventive, groundbreaking. I want you to commit yourself to stepping into the realm of coming up with an unpredictable way to surprise not even your most skeptical potential customers, but I want you to venture out into a new direction by being able to put out a brand that has tremendous appeal, drenched in promises of coveted emotional customer experiences that will be hard for the world to ignore, that would make your name unforgettable. What's the first thing you do? Find a gap. Check this out. All great brands, before they do anything in terms of marketing and selling, anything like that, they first find what's called the gap in the marketplace. It's often referred to as a performance gap, where people want A, B, and C from someone like you, but they're settling for D, E, and F. And so what great brands do is they make it a point to identify what that gap is so that they can say to that person, guess what? I know that you've been looking for A, B, and C, and you've been settling for D, E, and F. Guess what? I got the A, B, and C. And you want to know what else? Nobody else has it but me. Oh, now you're cooking with gas. And so if you look at, now remember, I'm a big brander. So I use a lot of big brand examples. So what you first do is you strategically make the decision, what do you want your brand name to be associated with? Tony Robbins, his brand has always been about life on your own terms. Remember, he started off with Unlimited Power, and then it went into Awaken the Giant Within. Les Brown is now known as You Have Greatness Within You. And before that, it was Live Your Dreams. John Maxwell, his brand is about Live Out Leadership. The Oprah brand was built around how to lead a fulfilling life. If you just look at authors, John Grisham is about legal thrillers. Stephen King is about contemporary horror, supernatural fiction, science fiction, and fantasy. The Nora Roberts brand is all about romance. And of course, James Patterson is about suspense and thrillers. I believe he passed away. So this is really no different than these folks. The Groupon brand was built around finding a gap in the marketplace called, wow, no one's offering huge discounts. As a local business, let me figure out a way I can do it through being innovative online. The Martha Stewart brand has always been about decor, perfection. Am I right? Jillian Michaels brands herself as the world's toughest trainer. LegalZoom.com is about what? Low-cost online legal services. And I could go on and on with this, with different brands from different categories, because the first thing each of you has to do is find your gap. Because again, if you do not, people are going to throw you into that pile where you're like, you're generic. Right? You bought on price. Write this down. I must deviate, not conform. I must, write this down. I must seek to be innovative. I should say an innovator as opposed to an imitator. Are you willing to innovate or imitate? Is my question to each of you. Are you willing to dream big, play big, so you can have big? Because I want each of you then to, from there, to say, okay, I'm with you, Jerry, because I'm going to provide unheard of value in my space. I'm going to make a performance claim. I'm going to be associated with something that nobody else in my space, my industry, my category, my area of expertise, I'm going to be known for providing something that is so incredible that folks will flock to it like bees flock to honey. So see, this is where, okay, you say, okay, all right, what's missing in my space? If I were to identify my avatar, if I were to profile my ideal client or student, what's going to compel them? What's going to motivate them to work with me? Maybe they have certain symptoms. Maybe I should be asking myself, what are they sick and tired of putting up with? What's not working that they want to work better? What would they like to change for the better? What is keeping them up at night? What is creating stress or anxiety, whatever it might be in their life, in their company, in their family, whatever. And I want to now say that my brand is the ultimate remedy to what you've been looking for. And then promise something that nobody else is promising. A brand is a promise, right? I remember, I love this because, check this out, guys. One time I was, Teresa, I was looking for a bathroom cleanser, right? And so I go down to the store and I pick up one called Scrubbing Bubbles. And then I looked on the package and it said, we promise to work so hard, you don't have to. I said, that's the bathroom cleaner for me. What's my point? My point is that I wasn't buying a bathroom cleaner or cleanser, right? I wasn't buying the brand name per se. What I was buying was the promise.
I'm all about easy cleaning bathrooms too, so I'm right there with you on that one, Jerry.
Exactly. Because then what that allows you to do is position your brand as being best in its class. Because at the end of the day, all people really care about It's what your brand offers. See, ladies who are on the call today, mothers, it wasn't Johnson's baby oil that you were buying. What you were buying was baby soft skin. If you're a coffee drinker, good to the last drop means everything to you because you want to have the best tasting coffee, and that's the Maxwell House brand. JetBlue knew better than to say cheap airfares because they can't compete with Southwest Airlines because they own cheap airfares, right? That's their number one find the gap, right? In the case of JetBlue, it's make flying fun. And of course, the FedEx brand has always been about absolutely reliable. So what's my point? Say something different. Great brands don't come across like others. And I don't care if we're talking a product or a service. Great brands say something different. Target says something different than Walmart. Target got away from Walmart because now they're known as Target. For those of you who shop at Trader Joe's, you know doggone well that you go to Trader Joe's for reasons that a supermarket cannot provide you. An iPhone says something different than BlackBerry, and look what happened to BlackBerry. And the last tip, and we'll wrap this up here real quick so we can get to some Q&A, is to have a powerful message. The late great motivational speaker, Jim Rohn said it best. He said there are 3 key steps to powerful communications. You have to have something good to say it well, and say it often. And I have found that one of the major problems that faces so many thought leaders, and we don't have time for this, but we would certainly get into this in San Diego, is the area of messaging. You're not using the right words. You're making head connections and not heart connections. You got to send a lightning bolt to someone's heart, not their head. And so there are certain words to use, certain phrases to use, so that people are more inclined to work with you. So just to wrap all this up, those were a few tips, but remember, it's all about sequencing. The sequence is, write this down, create my brand, market my brand, sell my brand. It's always branding, followed by marketing, followed by selling. Branding will differentiate you. Marketing's job is to get people to notice what makes you different, and the role of selling is to get people to pay for that difference. As I like to say, and I'm on record for saying this, branding will get you known, marketing will get you found, and selling will get you paid. And one of my favorite quotes is this guy here, Errol Reese, who once said, and this is a big-time marketing guy and branding guy. Read what it says. Marketing is not selling. Marketing is building a brand in the mind of the prospect. If you can build a powerful brand, you will have a powerful marketing program. If you can't, then all the advertising, fancy packaging, sales promotion, web design, and PR in the world won't help you achieve your objectives. In other words, don't put the towel down before the cabinets are up. So some of you may be thinking that what you should be focusing on is marketing. I don't know. The question is, are you saying the right things to the right people the right way? In other words, do you have your brand strategy put together first that you then feed into your marketing for it to work? My experience has been that most thought leaders do not. They're saying the wrong things to the wrong people the wrong way. So thank you, Teresa. I hope you guys got some value from this, and this has certainly been a joy for me. Thank you so much.
Jerry, thank you. You're just so generous with your information. So now comes the really fun part of our call. A, I get to ask you questions. Okay. And B, anyone who's live on the call with us, you know, we're going to have hundreds of people listening to this record after, but for those of you who showed up live, this is your chance to have Jerry focus on you. This is your chance to have one of the top branding experts in the world focus on you. And I'm so excited we're going to have you in San Diego with our Global Influence Summit too, Jerry, because I know you do a lot of really cool work with people. So this is your chance to write your questions on the chat board. We've already had some people posting questions on Facebook. So I'm going to go to those in a minute. And there we have your smiling face. Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
There he is, everybody, so we can say thanks to him. Jerry, you know, I love doing this to start with, which is, you know, for the next 5 minutes, coach me. Because you are fairly familiar with my brand. You know, I mean, I'm all about influence. The brand is Wildfire, how to become, you know, create wildfire word of mouth epidemics, become highly influential. But the thing that's most near and dear to my heart is the Evolutionary Business Council, which is this community of thought leaders and emerging thought leaders. They're the major sponsor and driving force behind the Global Influence Summit. And they really stand for, you know, gathering the people who are transforming the world. What would you say to me around my brand if you had one piece of advice to give me in terms of how we could be doing it better?
I would say, because I know what you do, I need to know who you are. And so I would want to know what your brand purpose is, what your calling is, what's your mission, but not a corporate kind of mission statement, but a branding mission statement where you speak what your personal commitment is to the market you're serving, to the lives that your God allows you to touch, so that you can inspire people with your purpose, your mission, which in turn allows you to make more of a personal connection, and then they're more motivated to want to work with you. So it all starts with fertile soil, right? It all starts with what is your brand purpose, and then from there, all the other legs start to get created.
So I know my purpose. My purpose is to help emerging thought leaders become highly influential so that they can get their word out. How would you frame that into a more powerful brand?
Well, that sentence is fine, but after that, I would come up with 3 sentences that reflects what you're most proud of to make that happen.
Beautiful.
That's a great lead-in sentence. Now I would want to know, okay, Teresa, what are the 3 things that you're most proud of that you're going to bring forth in terms of not so much how you do your work, but the whole thing of what's in it for me as the client? That is a reflection of that opening statement.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is always my chance to get free coaching, and I'm unashamed in doing it. And I know you've given us some advice around the marketing for the Global Influence Summit too. Boy, it's turning out to be a huge event.
You're getting some questions that are popping up.
I know,
here.
I love it. We're getting lots of questions coming up here. So let's go over to the chat board. We've got Callie asking, you know, what comes to me for brand name is making the seemingly impossible. Sorry, I'm reading these in the wrong order. So Callie's first question was, for a newbie and starting out to create something, what's a great way to come up with crafting a brand? And then she's typed subsequent to that, what comes up for me for a brand name is making the seemingly impossible possible. Could that be effective? So can you speak to that for a minute?
The answer would be no, because that's too cliche and too overused. The key is to come up with something fresh and original and innovative. Because remember, people will respond to you based on what you say. So if someone were to hear that, they might say, well, other people make the same claim. And so immediately you're put into that commodity market space where you're just a jar of mayo. So I would ask you to instead take a look at what's missing in this whole thing called making the impossible probable, and go from there.
Beautiful.
But I like the idea, though. I love the calling, but that's not the word.
Okay, perfect. And you know, if any of you want to say your company name or something more specific so that Jerry can speak more specifically to your example, feel free to do that. Let's go to Heather from Alberta. She's saying, here the economy is really taking a dive. That's so true. Alberta's my home province. How do I get people to part with their money? And I think really the underlying question she's asking is, how do you use your brand to drive that?
Well, remember the sequence: brand, market, sell. The branding has to underlie any kind of quote unquote marketing offer that you end up making. So if you focus on those tips that I gave you and a lot more stuff that I'll be giving in San Diego, basically what it comes down to is saying, I know that you are looking for the A, B, and C, and you can't find it. And so I'm going to give it to you. And the reason why I can give that to you better than anybody else is because of my secret sauce. So my advice.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second, Jerry, because Heather's actually typed on that she's an art framer. So if you could actually speak specifically to that example, okay, so she's an art framer in a down economy. How does she distinguish herself to create that brand that's going to have people part with their money?
By focusing not so much on the art framing itself, but rather the experience that the customer receives as a result of her art framing. So build the brand around how you can frame art in such a magical, incredible way that people will just feel breathless. They'll just look at that piece of artwork or whatever and go, holy cow, look at the framing on that, right? So set yourself apart by saying, listen, this is how I go about art framing that nobody else does. And that's your secret sauce, right? And we got to call it something. We got to call it something that's got some real sex appeal to it. You know, Teresa, you remember how I once said I love the TV commercial for Bounty paper towel where the performance claim was Bounty is the quicker picker upper, let the spills begin. And then they split open the paper towel during the commercial. And then they go, at Bounty, we use something called trap and lock technology, which allows us to absorb more liquid than any other paper towel on the market. And I sat there and go, oh, okay, that makes you superior because nobody does it the way Bounty does it. That's what I'm getting to for you. You've got to come up with your version of trap and lock technology for your art framing, because if not, then you're a commodity. And the moment you're a commodity, people buy you based on what? Price and availability. And that doesn't work. See, brands like Nike and Starbucks have shown us that the products they offer are less important than the brands that they market.
Beautiful.
Now think about that for a second. Think about that. The Starbucks brand was built around a unique coffee experience. He said, I'm going to distance myself from coffee so much, I'm going to come up with different names, Fratte and Frappuccino, and I can't have small, medium, and large. I got to have Venti and Grande, right? So distance yourself from other art framers. And by the way, this is for everybody on the call. Say that you go about it differently. Yeah, because if not, they're going to put you into a slot.
Beautiful. Okay, let's take a question that came in from the Facebook community from Wendy Wenig. And I think you kind of already answered this, but I'd love to give you the chance to comment on it further. She asks, is creating a brand only for logo and advertising, which I think you've obviously already answered, but she says, how can we show our vision or our mission within that brand?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad see, that's what I said earlier. It all starts with declaring to your customer, this is our mission or my mission. So that way they see your character, they see your heart, they see that you are committed to bringing forth a future that currently doesn't exist for them, that they badly want, and your personal commitment is to make that happen. So you highlight that, you spotlight that on your website as well as on the back of your business card. And of course, you speak it when you're talking with someone.
Beautiful. Let's go to one of the speakers and trainers on the call. We've got Annette Stanwyck on, who's also a fellow Calgarian. I love Annette's work. She she's not only a corporate trainer, but she goes into prisons to do forgiveness work. She has such a powerful story. I'm just setting a little context because I love who Annette Stanwyck is. She posts the question, please comment on who I am. I'm a freedom facilitator. I help people find freedom and peace through forgiveness. So what would be the advice you would give to Annette around her brand?
Strategically nail down the who, the what, and the how. The who is your ideal client. I'd like you to profile who they are around what are called psychographics. Are they pain avoiders or pleasure seekers? And if they're pain avoiders, what exactly are their pain points? What are their symptoms? So for example, if I have a bad cold, my symptoms are I'm coughing and I'm sneezing, I have a runny nose, and I look for the best brand that can get rid of that, right? So for you, what are their 3 primary symptoms, their biggest problems, challenges, or concerns? Secondly, what is going to be your message? What are you willing to promise them in this whole thing called freedom going away? and you put it into what's called a statement of mastery. The statement of mastery is a 3-part guarantee. It's like when Domino's Pizza once said, if the pizza's not there in 30 minutes, it's free. So imagine, Annette, if we came up with the Freedom Facilitator 3-part guarantee. You work with me and you're going to get bam, 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 right? And then the how has to do with making sure that as you language that and you message that, that it's built around emotional connections being made, not logical connections. Was that useful on that?
Beautiful.
Okay.
That's awesome. Annette, feel free to type more if you want to dive deeper on that one. But let's move to another question.
Yeah, I get to scroll down here. I'm looking on my screen. I can see.
Okay. Yeah, you can see some of the questions too. I love it. We've got another one from the Facebook group here from Alyssa Gander. How do you stand out in such a crazy social media world?
By doing everything I just said. Yeah.
Okay.
Because remember, you have to stand out by saying that you have something that nobody else has, and that you are willing to promise something that nobody else is promising. So that's why I had the slides earlier with the authors, and then I had Oprah and Martha Stewart and the rest of them, right? Because all great brands start with making sure that they occupy what's called blue ocean market space, which means that your brand is associated with something as a proposition of value to them that nobody else is. And then your messaging, and which ends up being carried over to your social media postings and any other communication platform you use, that's what people are going to pay attention to. So you want to make sure that you're looked upon as a one-of-a-kind, innovative brand. There's nothing cookie cutter about you. There's nothing one size all about you. There is nothing about you that says, okay, she's just another homo.
Beautiful.
Write this down. You must be a me-only brand, not a me-too brand. And so what I've noticed, one more point, is that a lot of times with social media, people get swallowed up in it because they're me too. They're not really saying anything that nobody else is saying.
Yeah, beautiful. And sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way to distinguish yourself is by defining your audience and the problem you solve for them. Forgiveness, just to use Annette's example, is so big and broad. There's a lot of people in the conversation of business, of forgiveness, that has you as me too. But when you say, I'm specifically teaching forgiveness in this context to this audience to solve this problem, now it's a me only. I think I'm really just giving back what you said, but yeah.
Well, let me piggyback on that, because the problem you solve must be unsolved. The best person to go with, to pursue, is always the person who feels that he or she is not well, because they have needs and desires that are not being met, or they're being met poorly. And so you come along and say, like I said before, hey, I've got the A, B, and C that you've been looking for, and nobody else has this but me. That's when sales ramp up fast and you make money quickly, by the way. So this stuff that I'm giving you guys, listen, you put this into work and trust me, you will have an explosion in your revenue pretty fast.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean,
it's all strategy.
One of the reasons I'm so excited about having you as one of our speakers in San Diego at the Global Influence Summit is because I see so many people who want to cause good in the world. You're in business to do something and really make a difference in people's lives. And I talk about this in my book a lot. The bigger the problem you solve for people, not only the bigger the profit you'll make, but the more influence you'll have. And the challenge is a lot of people don't know what problem you solve for them and how it specifically pertains to them. And so I love how you frame that inside of how you use your brand. It's one of the most brilliant tools I've seen to help people get at that problem. I'm so excited to have you helping people learn this in a much deeper way in San Diego.
Stand in the question called "What's Missing?"
Yeah, I love it.
And then move to what I call "I wonder if." I wonder if I do BAM, right? That's great branders. That's from Thomas Edison to Ray Kroc with McDonald's, right? To the guy I used to work with at P&G who created lens crafters, right? I mean, anyway.
Yeah, beautiful. I love we're getting comments like crazy here on the board, so I love it. Thank you guys for keeping the comment coming. We have two very similar comments, one that came from the Facebook group and one that Elise has posted on the board here too. which is like, how do you choose what to focus on first, or how much do you spend on branding? You know, so on a tight budget, you know, where do I start? And maybe you could just speak to that for a minute.
Right. There's 4 phases to brand development real quickly. Phase 1 is called brand architecture, otherwise known as your brand strategy, which is figuring out what to say, who to say it to, and how best to say it. Once that is done, then you go to phase 2, which is called brand building. So just like if you're going to build a house, you create what's called the blueprint from the architect, right? The architect passes it on to the builder in phase 2. The builder brings in the subcontractors, the plumber, the electricians, and the rest of them for actual construction. In my world, you first create what's called your brand architecture, otherwise known as your brand strategy. Then you go to phase 2, brand building. And so my version of those subcontractors are people who do websites and videos and social media and everything else you can think about, marketing funnels. But they need the blueprint from the architect, someone like me, in phase 1. So we're all playing from the same sheet of music. And then you go to phase,
I love it. Yeah.
Right. Then you go to phase 3 called brand execution. So you're taking the marketing that gets created in phase 2 based on phase 1, and you're out there now marketing and selling from leads and conversions. And then phase 4 is brand management, where you're managing the brand daily, weekly, monthly by the numbers to make sure it's working. So where do people get in trouble? Where do people get tied up, twisted up, wrapped up, and tangled up? They want to jump to phase 2 or phase 3 because that's all the shiny stuff. And let me tell you something, Teresa. I've had more people over the years who have said to me, Jerry, you are so right. I have wasted more money, more time, and more energy jumping to phase 2 out of sequence, and the marketing did not work. And one guy said, Jerry, I got 2 black eyes and a bloody nose to prove it. And this one other woman said to me, Jerry, what I appreciate about you is you do the upfront hard thinking. I said, exactly. I do the demolition work, okay? I'll tear it down and build it back up. I let other people do the remodeling. Because the conversations that we're having here, and this is what as you know, this is what I do every day, right? And some of my clients are on the call, by the way, I think, is have these conversations.
Beautiful, beautiful. So start with the architect, folks.
That's right.
Okay, I know we're winding up to the top of the hour, so I just want to make sure, first of all, Jerry, thank you. You are such a wealth of information, and I just really am always in awe of how you just really cut to the chase and help people really understand what their brand needs to be. We've got a special offer for you folks because this is the part of the webinar series for the Global Influence Summit. So we're going to move into a quick offer we have here. I'm just going to see if I can get the offer up, but it's not working for me. So I'm just going to, you get to see my smiling face instead of the offer. But basically, we've got a special offer if you want to join us in San Diego for the Global Influence Summit. The price is going up next week, so you can still register for $220. It's a packed 2-day event with Jerry's going to be there. We've got loads of the top speakers in North America coming in. We've got Shonda Perrin, Charmaine Hammond, Laura Rubinstein, Thomas Lemaguire, Harrison Klein. So these are people that are really going to help you understand how do you define who you are in the space and really take that influence level to the level where you really cause some big impact in the world. Plus, there's a huge bonus package that is involved in this event. You get, including with your registration in the live event, you get a 1-year membership to Charmaine Hammond's Your Book is a Business monthly mentoring calls, where she's teaching how to market and sell your books, build your speaking business, find media, and more. You can mastermind with other authors, speakers, and coaches. We include my 30-day influence building challenge and a copy of my Mass Influence, the book. You get ebooks from Marla Tabaka, Debbie Dashinger, who's a radio and media expert. It includes an audio program. And if you register by midnight tonight, Charmaine Hammond is also going to give you 2 hours of one-on-one mentoring. So the total value of that package is actually $997. You can register right now for $227. We'll make sure you get the registration page at the end of this call, and we'll also include, it's also available on the Facebook group where you saw this call. So Jerry, I just want to say thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge here today. I deeply appreciate everything you've shared with us.
You're welcome. And real quickly, Elise, because I know she had her question posted earlier, I just want to say that she wants to know, how do you build brand awareness? That's a marketing question. So remember, brand, marketing, and selling all have to be integrated. It's like a three-legged stool. So define your brand first, Elise, then focus on marketing.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure if you can see the offer up now. I think I might have it loaded.
I don't see it.
Yeah, no, maybe it's not working. But if you want to join us in San Diego, come up and introduce yourself. We all want to meet you. Jerry, I can't wait to see you in San Diego. And thank you all so much for joining us here today. It's really been a joy.
Thank you, Therese. Love you.
Love you guys. Take care, everyone.
Take care, Teresa.